We're getting it. Gotta bite. I think I got a lot of stress on my mind. It's a nice day to go. Yeah, I gotta learn. I'ma call the whole team.
I'm speaking today to express my opposition to the Inner Harbor Desalination Plant, also known as the Hillcrest Desalination Plant. My name is Jake Hernandez. I have lived in the coastal belt all my life. As someone who has been organizing in the community for the last year, I've spoken to many residents who share my following concerns. I'm concerned that the discharge from the Inner Harbor Desalination Plant will degrade our bay beyond fishable or swimmable quality. As a person who loves nature and the environment, it pains me to think of the degree that the harm that the city of Corpus Christi has already inflicted on our land. We cannot even trust the city to maintain our current water infrastructure, as reflected by our multiple water boils, bans, and violations of the Clean Air and Water Act. How are we supposed to trust them to maintain this newer, more complicated water infrastructure. We cannot. I disagree that dumping millions of gallons of brine from the Inner Harbor Desalination Plant into our bay system is necessary for the city's economic or social development.
1 minute.
On the contrary, I believe the Inner Harbor plant and its waste will impede the economic development of local businesses that rely on the bay's current water quality. Residents I have spoken to that live within 2 or 3 miles of the proposed facility have expressed many of these complaints to me about what it's like to live near this concentrated industry build-out. With those complaints ranging from hearing daily sirens from the refineries, suffering a deterioration in health, and the fear that the city is going to be gunning for their homes. In addition to the negative ecological impacts this waste will have on the Nueces and Corpus Christi bays, I believe the proposed location of the Inner Harbor Desalination Plant should be reconsidered. For all of you here who are still requesting this desalination plant as the city is undergoing an active civil rights lawsuit, you are disgusting, you are class traitors, you're sickening,
That's time.
and you're downright
Thank you.
unbelievable.
Crystal Ibanez, thank you. Take your seat. Thank you. Crystal Ibanez.
Good evening. Thank you for being here with us tonight to provide the opportunity for community involvement in the permitting process. My name is Crystal Ibanez. I was born here in Corpus Christi and have lived here for more than a few decades, although I don't really want to say how many. I was taught to water ski at the lake. I spent time at the beach with my family as a kid, learned to crab on Oso Bay, and was taught to protect and respect the environment. I also went to Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in environmental science. Yeah, I also have a master's degree in public administration with public safety focus. I've also worked for nearly 16 years in the water and wastewater industry. I hold a Class A water license and a Class A wastewater license as well. I tell you these things not to boast about my accomplishments, but to provide clarification about my unique position in this room. I love my city. I would never support destruction of the environment, and I would never stand for a water source that could not be utilized,
1
treated,
minute.
and discharged safely. As an individual with a vast understanding of the technology, treatment methods, and compliance with the Texas Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, I support the design and plans for the Inner Harbor Desal plant. This facility will help to ensure the Coastal Bend is one of the few regions that have a resilient source of drinking water and is protected from devastating effects of persistent drought conditions. As you listen to the public comment tonight, I urge you to separate fact from fiction and understand that much of the misinformation that has been distributed in opposition of the Inner Harbor Desal project was done so by a small group of individuals who hope to use fear to gain support from others to serve their purpose. As both an environmentalist and an expert in the water and wastewater industry, I have thoroughly assessed the environmental discharge study, the planned discharge from diffusers to properly distribute brine back into the harbor, and the design requirements that will ensure sludge is properly managed and disposed of. The TCEQ agency philosophy includes accomplishing the mission to protect Texas by basing decisions
That is
on
time.
the law.
Thank you. Order.
That was more than 2 minutes, though.
Order. All right. Let's have security in the room come forward, please. Just have a couple of folks on each side of the stage, please. Thank you. Up next is Randy Palich.
Hi, I have fished in these bays, these coastal bays, for over 60 years, and I'm proud to have said I've done that, and I will not want any of the bay to be harmed or our fisheries to be harmed in any way. I am in favor of a sustainable, long-term, and safe water supply for the region. I live in the region. The city has struggled for over the last 30 years to find an adequate water supply for the region, and I am in support of the permit that meets the state requirements and that the state resource agencies agree is protected. I do not think anyone here in this room wants the bay to be harmed in any way, and especially the city who depends on it in such ways for its economic life. The current water supply is at 26 to 28% capacity. We know summer's coming
1 minute.
and the drought's getting worse. Therefore, I think that anything that we can do to help in this situation would be beneficial. If the treatment plant, the single treatment plant, has an issue or the pipeline coming in has an issue, then this would be devastating and dire straits for the city. Therefore, I believe the desal plant could provide a redundant source of water supply and provide additional, especially during the droughts, and can be built safely and operated safely.
Thank you. Up next is Beatrice Alvarado.
All right, I'm here to oppose the discharge permit for the Hillcrest Desalination plant. I know the leaders of this agency are appointed by the governor. I expect you're here to rubber stamp this permit and call it a night, like so many others you've approved with no real consideration over how many of us are actually harmed by them. I've spoken to so many people who, despite being qualified, refuse to work where you work. Mostly they refuse to take any part in what you're doing here today. How does it feel to play such an essential role in killing our last standing historically Black neighborhood? I am trying to make you feel guilty. That's all I have right now. To somehow sway you to humanize us. I hope one day that what we say actually resonates. I hope one day you will act out of order. Hopefully you'll have to do it out of necessity like we're doing today. We can't afford the desalination plant that the city is cramming down our throats. We can't afford the water rates doubling by 2030. As a higher authority, you should be able to help us. I know it's a laughable matter, but you should be able to help us.
1 minute.
As the climate crisis worsens, it's going to be less and less possible to escape the fatal consequences of your decisions. We'll make sure of it. Today's demonstration brought tears to my eyes. It was beautiful to see how many of us have grown tired of your complicity with the worst polluters in the world. I bet you hate coming to these, having to face us, having to sit through all of the things we have to say, but I'm glad you have no choice. I urge you to deny this permit. This is not a small project, this is a major project. Complete an environmental impact statement, grant a contested case hearing to Hillcrest residents. At the very least, halt this process until a settlement is reached on the Title VI complaint against the city. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Our next group will start with Lamar Taylor. He'll be followed by Erica Mahaffrey, Ale Cota, and Chloe Torres.
Again, my name is Lamar Taylor, and I want to stand in opposition to WQ triple lot 5289 triple lot. I am a resident, I've been a resident of Hillcrest for 60 years. So I've seen all the devastation that the city of Corpus Christi has allowed industry to cause on my neighborhood. I have stage 4 cancer, I can show it to you. So it's not nothing that you can't see. I'm living and breathing. The science is there. So I know the science. So we're talking about the humanity of it. I know you guys don't have to deal with the humanity of it.
1 minute.
I got to live with the humanity of it. I got grandkids and great-grandkids that got to live with the humanity of it. You're going to deal with the science because we're going to request a contested case here. We request that you qualify Hillcrest as a recipient of a contested case hearing, that we can be a part of that contested case. Thank you.
Thank you. Erica?
Hi, my name is Erica Mahaffey, and I am speaking today as a young person concerned with the climate crisis. Many of the people here in Corpus Christi who profit off of fossil fuel money say that this desalination plant is for drought resiliency and that will provide for the people. However, this is simply not true. This desal plant is for profit and polluters, not for the people and not for our planet. Our city has promised 25 million gallons of water a day to Gulf Coast Growth Ventures, 5 million gallons of water a day to Steel Dynamics, 25 million gallons of water a day to an unknown industry. This desalination plant will be an open invitation for further fossil fuel corporations to not only come into our city, and continue to destroy it, but also further the climate crisis, which in turn perpetuates cycles of drought that our city officials claim that they are worried about, even though we all know that this is a scapegoat for their true mission of wasting millions of taxpayer dollars to please destructive corporations. And desalination is extremely energy intensive. This will not only keep us stuck in this fossil fuel cycle, but negatively impact community members as water rates and utility rates will skyrocket. You all have the opportunity to cut this cycle by denying the permit.
1 minute.
I'm also here to stand in solidarity with Hillcrest. We cannot address the climate crisis without addressing low income and communities of color that bear the brunt of heavy fossil fuels industry's greed. As a community member here in Corpus Christi, I am asking you to deny the permit. Also, if you would like to be on your phone during this, I suggest that you turn off your flashlights to make it a little less obvious.
Coda.
She's not here.
No Allie? Chloe Torres.
Hello everyone, my name is Chloe Torres and I'm speaking first as the Coastal Bend Regional Coordinator for Texas Campaign for the Environment. TCE is a grassroots membership organization with over 30,000 members throughout the state, and we are dedicated to informing and mobilizing Texans to protect our health, communities, and the environment. We promote strict enforcement of anti-pollution laws designed to stop or clean up air, water, and waste pollution, including in the Corpus Christi Bay area. We are also fighting the build-out of petrochemical facilities that have localized impacts as well as global climate impact. The proposed desalination facility would pollute the local community directly, especially the Hillcrest community, in its operations and indirectly as a source of water for the fossil fuel industry. The last point I will make on behalf of TCE, the city's proposed facility satisfies the definition of a major source of pollution, and thus EPA must have an opportunity to review and object to the draft permit if it fails to comply with all applicable legal requirements. Thus far, neither the city nor TCEQ has disclosed whether the draft permit has been provided to the EPA. TCE urges TCEQ to do so if it has not done so already, and then once EPA responds, TCE urges TCEQ to provide another opportunity for public engagement so that the public is actually aware of EPA's response. And I'd like to speak as an individual. The city of Corpus Christi could spend all of this time that they are wasting on a false solution to hand more of our water over to heavy industry and instead invest in fixing our water infrastructure. EPA just released a mandate saying that cities must send in results testing for forever chemicals in our water. When will the city of Corpus Christi submit that water testing and actually invest in providing clean water to our city? We oppose this desal permit. And our love for our community is stronger than your love for profit, and it is because of that we are going to win water for people, not for polluters.
Our next group will start with Sage Hernandez. Will be followed by Melissa Zamora, Dale Switala, and Randy McIntyre. Sage Jimenez. Sage Jimenez. Is Sage here?
You hear me good? My name is Sage Hernandez. I'm 14. I was raised in Corpus. Christi and Corpus is already bad enough with all these refineries and the dirty water that we have. And when I grow up, I don't want it to be worse. You know, when I grow up and have like a kid, I want to be able to catch fish and maybe actually eat it. And yeah, I mean, it's noticeable how much people don't want it and like very little do want it. And I'm only 14 and I already know that this doesn't even sound good. So That's all I'm gonna say.
Right, thank you. Melissa Zamora.
Hello, my name is Melissa Zamora. Proud of that kid. Man, what first? I'm a local science teacher. One of my students wrote this, knowing that one was going to go this meeting, they couldn't come. I'm part of the Hillcrest community, and I'm not sure I agree with adding a desalination in the heart of Hillcrest. Think of how many people get sick by air pollution, or paying water bills that we aren't even using, and then getting sick. Not cool. I agree with adding a desalination, but not in Hillcrest, where there's a lot of homeless people and kids from the community. My suggestion would be to add a desalination out of Corpus Christi, somewhere like the refinery area. But thank you for listening to what I agree or disagree with. Okay, this is my comment. Water is sacred, water is life. We are sacred and deserve a healthy life. No longer should we separate ourselves from nature, our natural world, which provides and nurtures us. No longer should we put the wants and needs of crooked politicians and greedy corporations before our own. The residents of Corpus Christi do not want this, but have been denied the permit and denied to vote on this major project of the Hillcrest Ship Channel Baywater desalination. So I am here with many others to demand and pray that our waters remain safe from any other contamination, including toxic brine that is being requested by elected officials to be dumped by the millions back into the ship channel where it is going to be extracted again. This does not make any sense, as the bay itself is a shallow, pretty much closed off bay. Over-concentrating this water and putting it back with a high concentration of salt will detrimentally affect the quality of the water by reducing the available oxygen, like you've heard, to the sea life and further acidification. The water as a reaction of excess salt. So the large fish that come into the bays to have their young may not have a fighting chance. This will not only affect the bays, but the Gulf of Mexico.
Up next is Gail Swatala.
My name is Dale Swatella. I live in Hillcrest all my life. They want to put a desal plant within 1,500 feet of my house. I oppose this desal plant in Hillcrest. I'm against it because of this noise, smell, and killing of sea life from heavy salination in a fragile bay system. Damaging bay fishing and shrimping and resulting harm to tourism and related jobs lost. We are already under orders to release Lake Corpus Christi water into the bay when salinity gets to a certain point. And this desal plant will only generate 30 million gallons a day and can't be expanded. The refineries and extensions they plan will need more than that before this desal plant even opens. 90 million gallons a day will be processed to get those 30 million gallons. And when they take that 90 million gallons, the Gulf of Mexico sends another 90 million gallons into Corpus Christi Bay with its brine and salt. And so then the plant will dump its brine and salt back into the bay. How's that not going to double the brine and salt in our bay? Let me get to anything. The university, the A&M Corpus Christi, has studied it, and they say the water circulates 16 months to get around the bay. That's not enough circulation to open a plant like this. There's not enough circulation, and you've already approved a permit for Harbor Island.
That's time, thank you. Up next is Randy McIntyre.
Court representative!
Order. Go ahead, Randy.
Hi, I'm Randy McIntyre, and I've been a civil engineer here in Texas for 40 years. I have worked on water projects for 46 years. I'm a board certified environmental engineer for 24 years. I'm not paid by Texas Desal or anybody else. I happen to be in the area because I'm working with one of Corpus's neighbors on their water challenges. and that's why I'm here, and I thought this would be a good thing to come see the citizens. I'm speaking on behalf of the permit. I've worked on other desals in other states. I think you've heard a couple of them tonight. I've also worked on brackish desal on groundwater here in Texas too. So I understand the technology. I'm very familiar with reverse osmosis, its barriers, and how it will take care of some of those other forever chemicals that everybody is worried about and all the other concerns. With that being said, I also worked for the Trinity River Authority for many years, and I'm very much aware of the challenges we have in Texas for water supply. I support desalination for that water supply in Texas. I think we have built out all the lakes. The last two, I think, are probably being built right now or filling up. And desal is our next option for Texas for us to continue growth in Texas. So I'm support this permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next group will be Sandra Rascori, followed by Michael Paris, Patrick Nye, and then Gregory Smith. Sandra Rascori. Sandra, are you here? Michael Paris. Is Michael Paris here? Are you Michael?
My name is Michael Paris. I represent the San Patricio County Economic Development Corporation. I'm here tonight to support the desal discharge permit for the Inner Harbor. The community in San Patricio County and the business and industry in San Patricio County work hard to be good stewards of water that's provided by the city of Corpus Christi. Through that stewardship, you have business and industry that are being wise with their water, and you also have the citizenry that's being wise with their water. The Corpus Christi MSA is made up of San Patricio County, Nueces County, and Aransas County. Over the last 10 years, $62 billion have been invested here in business and industry, not retail and not construction, but business and industry. Of that $62 billion, $37 billion have gone to San Patricio County.
Hold on, stop, hold on, I'll pause your time.
Oh, here we go.
Who was that? Come on, you were proud just a second ago. Who was that? Folks, listen. Again, everyone's entitled to their opinion. You'll have an opportunity to express your opinion. Use of vulgar language, making of threats, use of intimidation has no place here. If that's how you choose to behave, you'll be asked to leave. You have 53 seconds left.
Of that $62 billion, $37 billion have gone to San Patricio County for industrial development. I look around the room today, I see the clothes that we wear. I know that we came here by vehicles. I know that we have bags that are plastic. I know that we have this nice air conditioning at this moment. And I can tell you, it may not be directly from the business and industry of this area, but it does come from business industry like it. Your approval of this desal will bring some steadiness to the variance of water, groundwater that we have here, and that's important. And my one last comment is, if you have a bathtub full of water and you take 1 teaspoon out of that bathtub, you will see what the impact is to desal is to the breadth of this.
That's time. Thank you. Order. 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 We need to take a minute to create a new file on our recorder. So Jim, go ahead. When we come back, Patrick and I will be up. Hold on, Patrick. All right, Patrick Nye.
Okay, can we start right now? So I'm Patrick Nye. I have a unique perspective, born and raised here, and I support the Hillcrest Friends of ours. You know that a health study shows that the life expectancy is my exact age this year. Only 10 miles away, it's 85. so you can tell how old I am. I'm also a scientist. I have a geology and a zoology degree, and the science is wrong. I also want to point out that my family grew up here. My father was a community leader. He's the Chief Justice of the Court of Appeals. He knew what ethics was about, and Corpus Christi has lost its ethics. It's amazing how poorly they are doing to try to sustain the city. Instead of thinking about the people, it's all about industry. And desal equals ammonia, and how bad is that going to be for us? I also want to say this is about humanity.
1 minute.
And the TCQ has a mandate to pass this. We all know that. But I think what you have to do, instead of look for the ways that the permit works, actually think about humanity in a way that this permit doesn't work in this area. Is desal really right? Have they really looked at all the other answers, the other options? Where's the industry that is trying to preserve their wastewater and recycle that? Put the burden on the industries to create more water supply and not just give it to them. The other thing we have is groundwater. We have enough groundwater for all these citizens here. We don't need this industry. The industry is killing the bay. And over the 70 years, I've seen the bay go way down, and it's continuing to go every day. So please consider humanity and do the right thing. Be on the right side of history. Thank you.
Thank you. Gregory Smith. Gregory Smith. All right, so our next group will start with Leo Dalbeck, Araceli Helke, Madeline Chapman, and Eduardo Canales. So Leo.
Thank y'all for listening and being patient. I've lived here in Corpus most of my life in the coastal bend. The trip about this is all these issues of hyper salinity and solids into the inner harbor is basically would be a moot point. If we pipelined it, I'm being redundant here, but if we would pipeline it out to the Gulf. We've got 4 other plants coming on. Are we going to have all this again with every other desalination plant? I'm for desalination. We've got to do it. There's no doubt about it. But pumping solids and hypersalinity fluids in the inner bay or anywhere in our bay is not the way to do it. And I believe that it's an experiment in science. And
1 minute.
Okay. And also, it's a representation of the poor stewardship that the Corpus Christi City Council did with our other water rights. Okay? That's why we're in a crisis right now. And you know, Flint Hills has an easement all the way out to Ingleside. I guarantee you there are other economic viable, when you got five plants that could be joined together just like a gathering system in the oil field. And that's basically what I want to tell y'all. I'm repeating myself. It just can't go in the bay. Thank you.
Thank you. Araceli Helke.
Hello, my name is Araceli Garcia Helke, and I have 3 generations here living in Corpus Christi, Texas. I care about my community and their future. Desalination is a bad idea. It's bad for our wallets, bad for our environment, and bad for our community. No desal. Another thing I want to tell about the people live by the refineries, I feel so sorry because they keep hitting them, moving there. They're gonna be like, how are they gonna live? Just around all the refineries, they've been sick. And I just want to be in peace and enjoy your life or enjoy your bay. No desalination.
Thank you. Madeline Chapman.
Oh my goodness. My name is Madeline Chapman. I reside at 1617 Peabody Avenue in the Hillcrest neighborhood for 70 years. And yes, it is a neighborhood. I am confident that none of you would want a desal plant in your neighborhood. I am confident that the desal plant is for the benefit of industry, not the citizens of this city. When there are restrictions on the citizens, but not industry, that should tell you something. I am confident that the citizens of our community will pay dearly, not industry. If you're so concerned about water, you need to stop wasting it with the leaks all over the city.
1 minute.
No more pollution, no more contamination, no more 18-wheelers destroying our streets, and don't destroy our waters. I say no to desal and that long number for whatever that permit is. Don't do it.
Thank you. Eduardo Canales.
Good evening. The city, the mayor, the city council, and all went down to Austin and met with you guys on March 28th and sold you guys their version, their voodoo science that they have produced. All the answers that are unproven in terms of you dropping 50,000 gallons of salinity, of brine into the Gulf, into the bay, and you're saying that nothing's going to happen. That is, everything's going to be okay. Oops. I'm here. There is no environmental impact study. You have heard it time and time again. Why does not the city support an environmental impact study? And TCEQ, you should do the same before anything else should be done.
1 minute.
Speculation, it's nothing but speculation. The water's already been sold to the industry. I speak for human rights, for clean air, clean water, clean land. So what do you say? It's only Hillcrest? We've already degraded that community. You want to continue to do that? You need to speak and stop this environmental racism that has existed in this city forever. Say no, and you are the Commission for Environmental Quality. Protect our right to life, protect the healthy environment and human rights, clean water, air, and land. And I oppose this wastewater discharge permit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next group will start with Syvia Compos, to be followed by Nancy Vera, Eliza Powers, and Shelly Bryan. Syvia Compos.
Good evening. Let's see, what time is it? Wait, when does it, oh, it's almost 10 o'clock. Good time. Syvia Compos, I've lived here all my life. I'm indigenous. My family, I would come from a family of 13. All of us stayed here, not like some of the people that their sons and daughters have left. All of us have stayed here, and we continue to stay here. I'm a mother of 2 that are still living here, and I have 6 grandchildren, and I want them to thrive here. I'm also happen to be a city councilwoman for District 2. I actually represent the Bay Area. So this that we're looking at is affecting the people that I represent, but I also represent the heart of Corpus Christi, which is some of the older neighborhoods. So
1 minute.
I just want to say, and if with the people that have been talking here, if it hasn't gotten to your soul, I can only say, you better check it, because I was teared up. I don't know how much you can take of this. I know y'all look tired, and I'm sorry, but there's so much that we have to let out. We keep trying. I sit there in city council, and it's so sad because the people that are outside, we're supposed to be representing 500,000 ratepayers, but yet the people that are outside Corpus Christi, they only get 1 minute to come into city council, but yet they have no say on this almost $758 million project.
That's done. Thank you.
Horrible.
Up next is Nancy Dara.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Nancy Dara. I'm the proud president of the award-winning Corpus Christi American Federation of Teachers. Also, I'm regional director for the League of United Latin American Citizens here in the Coastal Bend, which represents 14 counties. And I am speaking against the desalination. As an educator for almost 38 years here in this area, I have worked in a school named Miller High School, which is right near here, near the downtown area. And I remember the sirens going off at the chemical plants and how we had to do lockdown. And I remember the terror in my students' faces. And I thought, how inhumane is that? And there was really no buffer zone except for the freeway. That's what they called the buffer zone back then. Well, I do know that in Hillcrest, the chemical plants did make a deal for a buffer zone there in the Hillcrest area.
1 minute.
I have worked in civil rights and human rights most of my life. And I think that what is being done without appropriate input is wrong, and it's inhumane. And I think that we, as leaders in this community, can do much, much better. And all of you at the state level can do better. So I hope that you will take everyone's comments into consideration so that we can have a better Corpus Christi and better ideas and positive outcomes as a result of all of these speeches. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here in Corpus Christi. Thank you.
Thank you. Eliza Powers.
Hi.
Eliza Powers.
Yes. Hi, I'm Dr. Eliza Powers. I'm with the Bullard Center for Environmental and Climate Justice. The proposed Inner Harbor desal plant significantly threatens the local environment, public health, and social equity. I urge decision makers to reconsider their support for this costly and damaging endeavor. Desal poses a serious risk to local water supply. The facility would exacerbate an already dire situation. Residents are under stage 2 water restrictions, while industrial customers are exempt despite consuming 60 to 80% of the city's water supply. Additionally, the proposed plant would deepen our dependence on fossil fuels, further contributing to the climate crisis. The IPCC has issued urgent warnings about the need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, yet this project would use an extraordinary amount of energy, resulting in pollution equivalent to tens of thousands of cars on the road. Additionally, the fresh water produced would largely go to industrial use, which further entrenches fossil fuel dependence on the local economy and energy grid. Furthermore, locating the desal plant in Hillcrest, a community already burdened with poor air quality and displacement, is deeply unjust. The historically Black and Brown American community, with significantly lower household incomes and life expectancies than county, state, or national populations, deserves better than to be further sacrificed. My boss, Dr. Robert Bullard, father of environmental justice, has fought tirelessly for over 40 years against projects like this that disproportionately harm marginalized communities. His work highlights urgent need for decision makers to prioritize the well-being of all residents and pursue sustainable, equitable decisions. Refinery Row has carved up Hillcrest into a sacrifice zone. Sitting the desal facility in Hillcrest is yet another form of environmental racism.
That's time. Thank you. Shelley Bryan. Shelley Bryan. Our next group will start with Jennifer Bray, who'll be followed by Bob Hollison, Todd Hathaway, and Michael Miller. Jennifer Bray.
Good evening. With all due respect, my name is Jennifer Bray for the record, and I'm here representing the Coastal Action Network. I would like, there have been so many falsehoods tonight, I would like to make some corrections for the record. I work for 7 different environmental advocacy groups. To say that we are this small group of people, a small group of angry people, is simply not the case. Before I did this work, I was a professional journalist. And one of the rules that we had is we knew that if a viewer of our newscast took the time to pick up the phone and call the news station and let us know they were upset about something, we could guesstimate that probably at least 20 people felt the same way, but didn't pick up the phone. These people here tonight didn't pick up the phone. They came. They have worked tirelessly to let it be known that this is a horrible idea. As part of my work, it has been my privilege to become friends with the fine people of the Hillcrest neighborhood. They deserve your respect. They do not deserve yet more environmental racism. One last observation. Mr. Mullen, you are not a corporate advocate. You are a citizen advocate. Yep. I find it sort of disturbing that your colleague who works for industry has listened intently and politely to every single person opposed for the desal, in favor of the desal. I've been sitting on the front row all night. You have not given the people
Up next
that
is Bob
same
Hollison.
polite
That's
response.
fine. Thank you. Bob Hollison.
Good evening, Bob Hollison. I live at 15226 Barataria Drive, Corpus Christi, Texas. I'm the Executive Director of Coastal Bend Industry Association, and I'm here to express support, strong support, on behalf of myself, the association, and its 21 member companies for approval of this permit. The drought of 2011 to 2013 taught us one thing: Corpus Christi has a huge vulnerability because the only supply of water is surface water, and that led to this latest 10-year effort to look at diversifying the water supply. It wasn't the first. We've been looking at desal for a long time, decades. And to be honest, we didn't start looking at desal when we undertook the effort back in 2012. But after this 10 years of review and analysis and engineering and science and data collection and modeling, this Inner Harbor location, seawater desal, is the best option to provide a drought-proof water supply component to the regional supply. We've been involved from the very beginning, and we've observed and reviewed the work that the city and Trees and Nickel has done. We're familiar with the process. We've read the reports. We're familiar with the interaction that's taken place between TCQ and the city. We're confident in the method, and we support strongly the approval of this permit based on the strong work that's been done. So thank you.
Thank you. Folks, the evening is long. We still have a lot of folks left to give their comments for the record. Please do not interrupt when somebody is commenting. Give them the same respect and time that others have given you. Thank you. Up next is Todd Hathaway. Todd Hathaway. Michael Miller. Michael Miller. Our next group, we'll start with Omar Davis, David Loeb, Reverend Claudia Rush, Alexis Vaughn, Omar Davis, Omar Davis, David Loeb,
Thank you and welcome to Corpus Christi. I really appreciate you having us and taking the time to listen to all of us, and I want to thank Representative Guerrero for asking for it so everybody could be heard. My name is David Loeb. I'm a former city council member. I was on the council when we built Mary Roads Pipeline Phase 2, and I was also on the council when this project started. I'm a sixth generation Corpus Christian. My namesake is a man named David Hirsch, who the street out here that they renamed a portion of it, Port, is named after. When he first moved to Corpus Christi, I think there were about 150 people living here. In 1838, our water supply was cistern, and the drought contingency plan was a brackish well that was contaminated with sulfur in Artesian Park, our first city park. So we've come a long way. And the reason we built a pipeline and immediately started planning for the next supply is because our city manager at the time said you can have a city without a police department, you can have a city without a fire department, you can't have a city without water. And so this process has gone through 6 different city councils. It's not one city council one day deciding that they wanted to build a plant. There have been environmental studies. When I was here was when we first hired the company and started the study that looked at all the different possible sites and what the positive and negative environmental effects were. And over time, as each of these studies has been done, it's confirmed that this is a good site, and the science has confirmed that this is a safe environmental site. And so, if at any point one of those studies had said, this site won't work, and there isn't a solution for it, it would have switched to a different project. But it hasn't. And so I'd like to encourage you to support the permit.
That's time. Thank you. Up next is Claudia Rush.
I wonder why you're a former council member.
Next up is Claudia Rush.
I'm here to express my opposition to the Inner Harbor Desalination Plant. Permit number WQ 000-528-9000 to be discharged in the Nueces Bay. My name is Pastor Claudia M. Rush, and I live approximately 3 miles from the outfall of the proposed Inner Harbor Desalination Plant, which is in the Hillcrest neighborhood, where my church resides. I'm concerned that the quality of life is being destroyed in Corpus Christi by chemicals in the air from the refineries, fossil fuel hubs on the waters, the upcoming ammonia plant and desalination plant proposed near the homes of residents in Hillcrest. The Inner Harbor Desalination Plant is productive only for industry and not for human beings. The bay will be destroyed from dumping excessive amounts of brine that will impact the fish in the water and impede the people who love leisure fishing to be gone. I don't agree with the proposed location. Furthermore, the city of Corpus Christi is deceiving the community that the water is needed for the citizens of the city, when the final fact is that they've been doing their backdoor talking to people to get them to come here instead of looking at what the real need is for the residents. We have not heard the outcome of the Title VI complaint of the discrimination from the Hillcrest neighborhood. So why should this permit be granted?
That's time.
I read
Thank you.
in Numbers 35.
Thank you. Up next is Alexis Wall. Alexis. So our next group, we'll start with Art Francis. We'll be followed by Jacqueline Sanchez, and then Jennifer Garcia, and then Jason Hale. Art Francis.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm in opposition to the desal. And it's not because I'm against desalination. I'm actually kind of for it. But if we're going to do it, why not do it smart? You know, we're dumping the brine into a bay that has really limited exchange. And I think your science and your modeling contradicts the established science that's out there. I think your modeling is based on bad science. If you look at some of the literature, some of the books that are out there, and I happen to bring one tonight, and it's by Professor David A. McKee, who is the probably preeminent scientist and professor at Texas A&M here, Corpus Christi, was instrumental in starting this school. And read his book. And his book is about fishes, but it's mostly about the bay. Now the bays don't enjoy diurnal tides. We all know that. The wind has more impact to the tide in the exchanges than the moon does. So if you don't, I mean, there's months in there that we get no exchange because of the tide. So what is your you're just going to keep piling, you know, more and more salinity up. The salinity impacts, you know, we already have a bay that has a higher than normal salinity, and then that's why it's such a natural breeding ground for our younger fish. So if you destroy that, you destroy everything. So why not do it smart? That's all I'm asking. If we're going to do desal, let's at least
That's
be
fine.
smart
Thank you.
about it.
Up next is Jacqueline Sanchez.
Move it offshore.
Jacqueline Sanchez. Jennifer Garcia.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jennifer Garcia. I am up here to oppose the permit for the desal plant. If you remember anything tonight, I want you to remember the name Adam Carington. Adam Carington. Pastor Adam Carington, who was the leader at the Brooks AME Chapel, now led by Pastor Rush. He was a fighter, and he helped to educate the community. I'm saying that as someone who was educated by him while working the voting polls at the church, maybe back 2016. He's no longer with us. The Spirit's still here. I don't live in Hillcrest, but I do work near the area in a senior apartment homes. I do providing nighttime for residents there that need help with any machines or anything. I help. But I also do advocacy with the state and Washington, D.C. There are some real a-holes in Washington, D.C. But guess what? I've convinced them to jump on board with different agendas that I've had to represent. So I hope that you guys, I don't think you're a-holes. I think you're smarter than that. And I think you'll jump on the no desal bandwagon. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Hill.
Hi, my name is Jason Hale. I live at 4421 Hamlin Drive, Corpus Christi, Texas. I oppose issuing this permit TPDES number WQ000528900 because it is not based on sound science. My first problem with this permit is that no one has demonstrated whether there is adequate circulation to prevent the brine concentrate from building up in the Inner Harbor and the Corpus Christi Bay. This is an issue because the discharge for the Inner Harbor plant is in a small, contained area where there isn't enough flushing for such a large volume of concentrate. The brine is going to settle as a heavy layer on the bottom of the shipping channel where it's going to, 1, deprive bottom living organisms of oxygen, and 2, it's going to accumulate because it will be isolated from the wind and wave mixing energy near the surface. So far, no one has modeled where the effluent will go once it leaves the mixing zones, and that's concerning. The worst of these, my second problem with this permit is that the city is overestimating the amount of dilution that will occur by using improbable assumptions in their near-field mixing analysis. The worst of these assumptions is that out of all of the millions of gallons of water that leave the Inner Harbor on one tide, none of it comes back on the next tide. Not only is this false, but it also demonstrates a lack of understanding of basic hydrology. In conclusion, issuing this permit as is will lead to an unacceptable increase in salinity gradients in different sections of the Inner Harbor and Corpus Christi Bay, where the concentration of brine will be toxic to aquatic life. The City of Corpus Christi and the TCEQ need to re-examine their analysis of this project and to conduct a full environment impact statement before issuing this permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next group will start with Corey May. Will be followed by Bruce Swatala, James Perkins, and Aaron Gaines. Corey May.
Good evening. My name is Corinne, and I'm a law student at the University of Texas. I'm also in the environmental clinic, and I contributed to the comments opposing the wastewater discharge permit. I'm deeply concerned about the city's environmentally racist plans to build this invasive and toxic desal plant in the historically black Hillcrest neighborhood. There are countless reasons this permit should be denied, but I'm only going to mention 2 of them. First, the brine discharge that this plant is going to pump into the Inner Harbor is going to harm Hillcrest residents who have standing in this matter. Specifically, scientific studies have shown that increases in salinity also increase the risk for red tide, which has a historic record in the Inner Harbor. Red tides have detrimental health effects for anyone living within close proximity to algal blooms, including Hillcrest residents
1 minute.
like Carrie Meyer, TJ Rogers, Renoir, Lamarcus Knox, and Daniel Pena. Even the desal plant itself can't operate during red tides because the algae clogs the filtration systems. The second reason the commission should deny this permit is for the simple reason that the city of Corpus Christi has failed to complete basic requirements for the permit. Specifically, numerous salinity plume bar field models are missing from the city's application. These models are necessary to evaluate the potential outcomes of how the brine discharge will settle in the Inner Harbor and within the greater Corpus Christi Bay. Without these required models, moving forward with approval is irresponsible and an informed decision is not even possible. The commission should grant the Hillcrest Residents Association a request for contested case hearing and deny the wastewater discharge permit to avoid further harm to the community in the Bay system. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Bruce Swatala.
Bruce Swatala. I demand the denial of discharge permit WQ000528900000000, which will pollute my neighborhood by air quality, smell, toxicity, traffic, noise, and allergies. I live 1,500 feet from proposed polluting industry. I've been exposed all my life to releases of benzene and other chemicals from the next door Nueces Bay Boulevard refineries. I am diagnosed with migraines and just had a 4th melanoma skin excision from my arms last week. Further, water flows, if you can call it that, at a snail's pace, 0.5 centimeter per second in this port. A wise choice would be the sustainable port Hernandez Harbor Island location, for which you've already given a permit. Water there actually flows. Harbor Island can produce our needs now and in the future, as Governor Abbott said October 2022. I foresee the Nueces County population doubling in 10 to 15 years. I hope that doesn't double. If the area doesn't agree on a desal plant, then Texas will do that for them. Harbor Island can be built large enough the first time, have pipes along the 80-foot deep waterway, not bother the beaches, and pipe the brine into the churning Gulf of Mexico waters. If you approve the stagnant, financially wasteful inner harbor permit, you need to shred your credentials as professionals and say goodbye to your ethics. Thank you, and God bless the TCEQ and Army Corps of Engineers.
Thank you. Up next is James Perkins.
What's up? You've been listening to all these educated people talk about it. I'm just a regular citizen in Corpus Christi. I can't drink my tap water. It tastes like chlorine. It turned my armpit hair red, y'all. I am a fucking, I'm sorry. Strike that from the record, I guess. But it turned my armpit hair red. I can't drink that tap water. My grandmother can't drink that tap water. My great-grandmother is the one who moved here from Mexico. I'm from a family of immigrants. But you're hurting white people too. It's not just black people. It's not just the Hillcrest residents. You're hurting Corpus Christi. The people who put you in charge. This hurts me. This hurts my family. I know y'all ain't from here. I know that's not tap water. I know that's not tap water. And I know none of that is tap water. This is my city. How much more angry do we got to be for you to hear us? How much more loud do we got to be for you to hear us? I can't live here my whole life. If y'all aren't going to make it livable, this desal plant is going to hurt all of us. Not just us, the poor who can't afford the double water bills. It's going to hurt you too. Because what am I supposed to do here, man? I ain't even got a car. Hey, can someone give me a ride home, by the way? Just to throw that out there. I ain't even got a car. I can't survive this city. I love my city. I love my family. I got nieces and nephews here. My grandparents live here. My parents live here. They came from Houston too. What am I supposed to do? Like, science, I ain't got it, right? And all of y'all look bored as hell up there, by the way, when we're sitting here pleading for y'all to save us.
James, focus your comments on the application, please.
I ain't know nothing about it. I'm here to make a public comment to say, pay attention to the citizens, because I don't know what's going on, but all these educated people doing are fighting for me. I don't know this stuff. They do. Listen to them. Why are you listening to these people? Why are you listening to money? I ain't got money. What am I supposed to do about it? Die here? In what, 50, not even 10 years? I'm 25, that means in 50 years, how are we supposed to get that water?
Up next is Aaron.
Good evening, my name is Erin Gaines. I'm an attorney representing Hillcrest Residents Association, and you've heard from many of the members here tonight directly. We submitted extensive comments today. I hope you read them very carefully, including the attached Title VI complaint that several have referenced. Tonight, in my limited time, I will focus on the deficiencies in the water modeling and salinity in the city's application. We heard a lot in the question and answer session from TCQ about the extensive modeling that was done and the salinity impacts. What TCQ and the city did not state is that the limited modeling that was done by the city only addresses the near field, the closest areas to this discharge. What TCQ and the city did not state is that their own limited modeling shows a high salinity density gradient, or a plume, would form. It does not show that it would mix in the near field, and that the high salinity water would not be mixed evenly. The city did no far field modeling, despite its own near field modeling showing this high salinity density gradient. This 3D modeling is needed, and we have two expert reports attached to our comments by Dr. Scott Sokolowski and Dr. Ben Hodges. I'd like to read from Ben Hodges' report. He says, the best state of the science indicates that the proposed desalination outfall will create a persistent vertical salinity gradient in both the Inner Harbor and the Corpus Christi Bay ship channel. This vertical salinity gradient will inhibit replenishment of dissolved oxygen to the bottom waters, creating a hypoxic, low oxygen, dead zone along the bottom of the Inner Harbor and ship channel, and possibly in Nueces Bay. Someone asked GCQ.
Thank you. Our next group will start with Renoir Knox, will be followed by Chuck Anderson, Christy Stockman, and John Purcell. So Renoir Knox. Chuck Anderson.
Hello, my name's Chuck Anderson. I work for a company called CQ Foods and CQ Analytics. We do bioimpedance analysis on fish to measure the health of animals in aquaculture as well as in the wild. We work with NOAA to measure the health of up-migrating salmon in the Yukon River and other projects. I can tell you that high salinity can be a real problem for fish. I support the Sierra Club and CCA in their call to deny this permit. The studies to date are inadequate and poor modeling. The Freeze and Nichols white paper says that Corpus Christi Bay has been 32 parts per thousand since 1987, which is not true. It's been continually getting more saline as the years have gone on. Also, that white paper has no citations whatsoever. Pretty poor work. The Hart Research study from 2021 talks about the salinity is getting worse. So the perfect salinity in Nueces Bay for maximum biodiversity is 13 parts per thousand. You're saying without 32 parts per thousand, I'm going to go up from there.
1 minute.
North Corpus Christi Bay is 22 parts per thousand. South Corpus Christi Bay is 24 parts per thousand. So that's what you really want for perfect biodiversity in our bay. So it's getting worse. So Corpus Christi Bay, we've already lost our tarpon, we've already lost our alligator gar, and the oysters are declining, mostly because of high salinity. The oysters are dying not because of the salinity, because they can tolerate 39 to 44 parts per thousand per year study. But they get killed by something called an oyster drill, which in high salinities will kill the oysters. So there's a lot of different things going on. All we have to do is look at Baffin Bay, which is now a hypersaline solution, and they're having issues such as algae blooms, fish kills, and starving black drum. I can personally attest what that looks like. I worked at Groomer Seafood for a couple of years, and I could tell when I cut those fish if they came from Baffin Bay or they came from Nueces Bay. The fish from Baffin Bay were thin and starving, and they were hard to cut. The ones from from Nueces Bay were fat and beautiful. The ones from Baffin Bay were tough. So that's where we're headed.
That's time. Thank you. Up next is Christy Stockman. Christy Stockman. John Purcell.
My name is John Purcell. I've lived here for approximately 12 years, and the biggest shock to me moving here is how all of our so-called public officials openly, and I mean openly, work for industry against the public interest. Yeah. And it's blatant, it's in your face, there's no bones about it. The root cause of this problem we're facing today is not our periodic droughts. Periodic droughts probably affect lake levels by approximately 20%. The other 80% of reduction in our water levels in our lakes is entirely due to industry being allowed to suck our lakes dry. Yeah. Industry caused the problem. Cracking down on industry will fix the problem. This is not going to be for the public water supply at all, so stop lying to the public. Yeah.
Thank you. Our next group will start with Lisa Boatman. Will be followed by Jose Cruz, Zora Dinahan, and Isabella Raza. Lisa Boatman.
Hello, my name is Lisa Boatman. My family moved to Portland in 1984. I'm an avid kayaker, fisherman. I swim on the beaches, and I take environmental stewardship and clean water very seriously. I also work as a water wastewater engineer here in the state of Texas. And in my profession, I travel around quite a bit, and one of the common themes that I hear all the time in our communities is issues with water supply. I am speaking out in favor of the desal plant. And water supply and diversification is not a luxury. It's absolutely a necessity. You could talk to people in Wichita Falls or El Paso.
1 minute.
I would also like to say I'm in favor of the plant due to redundancy of treatment operations. This is absolutely critical for human health. It's critical for emergency operations, quality of life, and for the community. The community is also industry. Industry and community are the same. People need jobs.
Order.
It's very challenging to maintain treatment plants when you have no redundancy. For anyone who wants to know about treatment operations or the process through TCQ and permitting, I encourage you to go to their website. It is all laid out in documents on how this works and everything that you need to do as an applicant in order to receive one of these permits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is Jose Cruz.
Good evening. 10:37. Wow, I'd be asleep right now. But I'm up here in favor of desalination. Right now, it's we just don't have a feasible design with this with just a one source of a water supply. We need that secondary source. Some of these people in here would be upset if that one source failed, and they would be questioning the very people that are up here right now. So let's do this thing. Let's get desalination going, and let's stop depending on these lakes that other communities as well depend on. And let's get it going. Let's get it passed. And I thank y'all very much for your time. Thank y'all for coming, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you, folks. I've asked. From this point forward, anyone who interrupts while someone's commenting, I'm going to ask security to have them removed. Thank you. Up next is Zora Dinahan.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Zora Genoa. I am an attorney here representing the Hillcrest Residents Association. Thank you. I ask you to deny this permit, first on the basis that it would be overly burdensome on that community that is already facing discriminatory impacts from industry, and secondly because it's clear, as my colleague Aaron Gaines mentioned, that it's going to degrade the water quality both in the Inner Harbor and in the Bay. Now, also notably, y'all need to wait for the Title VI complaint to finish and reach a conclusion, because both the DOJ and the Department of Housing and Urban Development are actively investigating the city right now for its discriminatory citing of this facility in the Hillcrest community. And despite Mr. Peter Zanoni's statements in a public meeting recently, to the contrary, this investigation is still active. Now, the anti-degradation review contained in this application was very clearly deficient. There are two requirements for anti-degradation policy. It must be sufficient to protect existing uses. The water quality must be maintained to level to sufficient or to protect those uses. Here, those are aquatic life use and non-contact recreation, and that's just for the Inner Harbor segment. And then it also, if it's going to cause more than a de minimis degradation of that water quality or lowering of that water quality, the applicant must establish that the degradation is necessary for an important economic or social development, and that just wasn't shown here. First of all, if the city attempted to show that, it could not, because as so many people have told you tonight, this is for industry. The city in 2015, along with industrial stakeholders, actually commissioned a study, and the study was about developing desalination to ensure, quote, to ensure service continuity to industrial customers, unquote. Now, that study noted that the Inner Harbor location was the preferred location of industrial stakeholders. It is very coincidental that this is the location that the city has settled on to satisfy these industrial stakeholders.
That's fine. Thank you. Up next is Isabel Eliza.
My name is Isabel Raiza. I'm a co-founder of For the Greater Good, part of the people that organized us coming in. I'm here to ask you to deny the permit WQ 000528900. I didn't get a chance to actually prepare comments, so because I was busy working on that. But I do want to say a couple of things in terms of how this permit application happened, because I think it's really problematic. When the city first submitted their application, it was only 75 pages long. And then when they said that they got the draft permit, they kind of waffled, and it made it sound like they had already posted the draft permit. So I actually called city council asking where it was published, and then they said that they didn't have it, and they just extended it to like March 27th. And Zanoni made it sound like they had less than 30 days. The other thing that happened is I found out just by luck that the application was no longer 75 pages, it was now 238. And they never mentioned anything about that. They also did not put in the chemicals that are going to be used in the processing, so there's stuff that's really problematic around that. Also, just kind of in general, in order to have a healthy democracy, you need to have transparency. You need to follow processes, and I'm really concerned that this is the first plant, and the application process was so sloppy and mediocre, and it showed disrespect for the community and for the process, that if we don't hold them to a standard that should be met with all of the applications, then what does this mean for the subsequent 4? And I'm super worried about that, because that we have to live with it. I also want to say that we're going to contact EPA. We're not going away. We recognize that this is kind of performative, but really it's also an exercise in people power, right? We're building our civic engagement. You can't stop us. The movement's building.
Up next is Leah Eliza Ortiz, will be followed by Don Osborne, Peggy Duran, and Stephen McCluskey. Leah.
My name is Leah Eliza Ortiz. I'm 15 years old. I'm here against the desal permit because of the bay waste it'll put right back in our home. But first, I would like to address an earlier commenter who talked about how waste would not hurt our bay. Well, what does a Class A license say about the 48 million gallons of brine and 6.5 million gallons of processed sludge that we put back into our bay? Everyone up here is making decisions that will affect my generation. Growing up, children and teenagers are told to trust adults, that they will guide and protect us. How am I being protected if our elected council and people in control of our water are so busy protecting the industry that they forget about us, the future of Corpus? Industry is taking up 80% of our water, so why citizens are paying the price? If Corpus needs water, reduce the amount of it industry is given.
Thank you. Up next is Don Osborne.
I spoke already, so go ahead, I won't speak.
Peggy Duran.
Good evening. My name is Margaret or Peggy Duran, and I'm here to oppose the desalination permit, this desalination permit, because it will increase greenhouse gas emissions, worsen climate change. We're living in an age where I may be 75 years old, but I'm listening to these kids, and they deserve better. The brine that this discharge will create dead zones in our bay, and contaminate it even further. Desalination plants are costly to operate, require enormous amounts of energy, are difficult to manage in an environmentally friendly way, and this is according to water policy experts. This isn't me. These are people who study this. The Inner Harbor idea, the Hillcrest neighborhood, everyone's talking about it. What an awful location. First of all, the overburdened population there already. Second, the water in the Inner Harbor. It's just common sense. That's going to make a mess with your filters. I mean, they're going to break down. They're going to have to be redone regularly because you're pulling in really dirty, sludgy water to begin with. Most of this water will be going to industry, which already pays less for its water than the residents. The $757 million loan is going to fall mainly on the citizens, which simply is not fair considering these petrochemical facilities are among the richest in the world. Come on, make them pay their fair share. The unintended consequences of dead zones being found around the world near the discharge area of desalination plants should be a warning that we heed as we try to reduce our consumption and recycle the good water we do have.
That's time. Thank you. Up next is Stephen McCluskey.
Okay. Please, an environmental impact statement.
Stephen McCluskey.
Hi, good evening. My name is Stephen McCluskey. I'm a law student at the University of Texas. I'm with our environmental clinic, and I'm here to represent the Hillcrest Residents Association regarding the discharge permit tonight. So as it relates to enjoying time on the water and fishing, Corpus Christi reminds me of my hometown in rural Georgia, where fishing isn't a hobby, but a cornerstone of our community and our local economy. Indeed, Texas recognizes that fishing is more than a hobby. The right to fish is explicit in our Texas Constitution, so actions that hinder Texans' ability to fish violates this right. Regarding the Corpus Christi desalination site, experts state that the discharge will lead to areas called dead zones, or areas void of life because of high salt content and non-existent oxygen content. The consequences could be disastrous ecologically and economically. Discharge could kill or deter the fish we catch. It can kill the food that those fish live on, and most importantly, if discharge harms the fish, it infringes on all of our rights. As Texans living near and using the water, the Hillcrest residents have a distinct interest in desalination. The proposed desalination discharge is alarmingly close to fishing areas vital to their community. Areas where T.J. Rogers, Daniel Pena, and Lamarcus Knox regularly fish for fun with their families and for food. These residents in the broader community are rightfully concerned about the harmful impacts the discharge could have on Texas water and their way of life. A way of life that Texas Constitution intends to protect, a way of life where Texans can sustainably recreate on the water with their families. And for these reasons, the Hillcrest residents deserve a contested case hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. The next group will start with Eric Allman. Will be followed by Marissa Perales, Mike Pusley, and Gabriel Lunar. Eric Allman.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. I'm Eric Coleman here on behalf of the Ingleside on the Bay Coastal Watch Association. We're here in support of Hillcrest Residents Association and in opposition to this permit. This permit should be denied, first due to the nature of the community, which has historically been overburdened, and you should consider the environmental justice impacts of this permit. Furthermore, the modeling associated with this permit does show that there will be a hypersaline plume which forms will move downstream, creating low oxygen circumstances that will kill the wildlife that is now present there. Furthermore, this permit is required to be submitted to the EPA for two reasons. First, the EPA letter rescinding its waiver of these does apply to this application. EPA oversight continues to apply as these applications are being processed. And as I'm sure EPA will tell you, this permit is subject to their review, and you have not provided that to them yet
1 minute.
And furthermore, this is a major facility. If you would complete the worksheet on major versus minor facilities correctly, recognizing that this is a wastewater process discharge, it demonstrates this is a major facility. So regardless of whether that rescission letter applies to this application or not, it is TCQ's duty to submit this to the EPA, subject to EPA review. And I'm sure EPA would have many of the same objections to this as it had to the Harbor Island facility. And so we would ask that you deny this permit application and consider the concerns expressed here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Perales.
Good evening. My name is Marisa Perales. I'm with the law firm of Perales on the Nice. We're based in Austin, and I'm here on behalf of the Hillcrest Residents Association. I've submitted written comments along with my colleagues, and so tonight I'd like to focus on just a couple of issues with my oral comments. TCEQ must fulfill its responsibility and apply an environmental justice lens in evaluating this permit at this location. I know it's tempting to say that you don't have the expertise or the tools to do so. That's okay. The folks in this room have the requisite expertise, and you've heard from them an egregious set of facts that tell a clear story. Hillcrest is an overburdened community. This is a residential community with beautiful people and beautiful families that has been targeted with more than its fair share of industrial polluting facilities. This is an example of environmental racism. Don't be complicit in this, TCEQ. We know that staff was not provided with all of the modeling by the city. Your staff admitted this. Why would staff accept representations without verifying them with appropriate modeling? We know there are no salinity limits in this permit, and we also know that other desalination permits have salinity limits. Why not here? There's no far-field modeling, yet the city's core mix modeling shows a dense salinity plume near the discharge. Yet staff still has not required far-field modeling. Why isn't it important to know what happens with that salinity plume? Why isn't it important to know what the impacts of that salinity plume are on aquatic life? Is it because of the location of this facility? This proposed plant requires TCEQ to be more diligent, to take a hard look and to really scrutinize what's being proposed here. So far, TCEQ has failed in doing this.
That's time. Thank you.
Return the application. Don't be complicit.
Mike Pusley. Gabriel Lunar.
Hi, my name is Gabriel Lunar. I am a concerned resident here in Corpus Christi, and also I am an environmental chemistry student at the master's level. I want to point out the lack of research and thought behind the diesel plants here in Corpus Christi. It has been well documented that desalination negatively impacts microdiversity, bacterial abundance, and activity. The studies specifically show that this mainly organic matter cycling, and this goes contradicting what we were told with the city of Corpus Christi and how the diesel plant was going to actually decrease organic matter. That is not true. Here in Corpus Christi Bay, we already deal with a lot of nutrient pollution. The diesel plant will be disrupting the nutrient cycling within the bay. As we all know, it raises concerns with eutrophication, hypoxia, increased harmful algal blooms, and loss of biodiversity. Moreover, there's concern for the thermal pollution associated with the brine discharge that is well documented that it decreases species richness. These are just a couple of concerns of the doses associated with desalination. Based on the answers given here in this panel, it has been established that the people in charge of this permit are not qualified or have not put the thought and understanding behind making this decision. The studies presented today are in other places that have offshore brine discharge, which is not the case here for Corpus Christi. And by the way, a lot of this do not work. They're working intermittently, so they're not really working. These will not work here, especially with the plants that we have here. More research has to be completed in order to even entertain the idea of this permit. The only people who are in favor of this are people who only care about their pockets or people who are not being given the right information to be able to make a decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next group Alex Balderas, David Kozowski, Barbara Canales, and Connor Rice. Alex. Alex Balderas? Okay.
My name is Alex Balderas. I'm 57 years young. Upon graduation here in Corpus Christi, Texas, I joined the United States Air Force, came back, and now I'm a 31-year firefighter medic, retired. I'd like to thank the city of Corpus Christi, city staff, and city council who voted in the affirmative to get us where we are now. The city of Corpus Christi requires and needs safe, secure, drought-free, affordable water. We need it, we need it, we need it. Despite our differences.
Hang on, pause, we'll stop your time. Security, if you wouldn't mind, escort this young lady right here from the room. Thank you.
How can you speak for desal? You
had no
problem interrupting our friend over here.
Thank you. You have a minute 28, go ahead.
I don't understand all of our differences and all the legal jargon, but I do know what the common denominator is. Water, water, water. Thank you.
Thank you. David Kozowski. David Kozowski. Order. Easy. Order. I did not hear what he said. Order. Order. Security. Who would mind just address that gentleman who just sat down in the back? David Kozowski. David Kozowski. Barbara Canales.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Canales. I'm the former Nueces County Judge. I was born in Corpus Christi, Texas, and this is my home. I previously served on the Board of Coastal Bend Bays and Estuaries, and I'm very concerned about the adverse impact that the city's proposed inner harbor desal discharge permit will have on marine life in Corpus Christi Bay. Granting the city's draft permit would certainly be premature at this point. I'm certain that the city's operation of its proposed desalination facility at the inner harbor will cause a hypersaline accumulation that will adversely impact marine life. These are informed opinions based upon known scientific information and the public record. To prepare for this evening, I have reviewed all relevant public testimony in all of the contested case hearings for the Harbor Island desal permit, where Corpus Christi Bay and the inner harbor are mentioned, to prepare these written comments. The truth is, I've already uploaded written comments with backup exhibits, and so much of what has already been said are echoed in some of my prepared oral comments for tonight. The thing that stands out to me the most is what you have heard over and over again, but I want to make sure that you have some context. When you live in Nueces County, where you live determines your health outcome, unfortunately, and it also determines how long you live. And that source is from THI, Texas Health Institute, which is a nonpartisan public health institute of Texas. It's also made a part of my record, and I urge you to read it because it validates the emotion in real data that helps drive decisions. The last thing I want to say is there's been so much talk about the limitation to salinity not being a part of this permit. That is huge. One thing I have not heard tonight is that monitoring is also not part of this permit. For that reason, I urge you to deny, or in the alternative, please take this to a contested case hearing. It merits it. Thank you.
Thank you. Connor Rice. Connor Rice. Connor Rice.
I must express my opposition to this desalination permit in its current form as it appears hastily assembled, evidenced by several glaring oversights in the application that cannot be overlooked. One, the specific location of the Inner Harbor Hillcrest community site fails to have adequate water exchange. At this specific site, we see exchange of water every 1.4 years, and this was confirmed by Dr. Larry McKinney in sworn testimony. Two, according to the City of Corpus Christi, tidal current is 0.0057 meters per second. This means the dispersion will be 68 feet in an hour. This velocity is tantamount to no dispersion at all. Info contained in the Corpus Christi Technical Memorandum report on their own website. Three, Corpus Christi Polymers holds a permit currently for discharge of brine, and this fact has not been factored in the city's permit with regards to accumulation. No far-field modeling conducted to take NCC polymers into consideration. 4, City of Corpus Christi has no far-field modeling. The EPA model uses Environmental Fluid Dynamics code to indicate effect of brine accumulation, and this is best practice. And before any permit is granted, this modeling should be presented. Technical report is void of either SUTAN or the EFDC modeling, which is alarming. 5, in contrast, according to the public documents, Port of Corpus Christi Authority has conducted far-field modeling in connection with their permitting process for the TCEQ permits. They should reveal their data and modeling so that the information regarding the effects of accumulation in the Inner Harbor plant can be seen and evaluated by the decision makers and our general public. 6, most importantly, the city permit has no limitation on salinity accumulation for Corpus Christi Bay. This is not best practices for seawater desalination facilities. This permit is premature because this calculation has simply not been determined. So each of these key points, with the backing of the exhibits which have already been submitted online through this written comment, or through my written comment, and for these reasons listed, I submitted a contested case hearing and oppose this permit as written. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so our next group, we'll start with Heather Shields. Will be followed by Stephanie Guerrero Signs, Trina Garcia, Jeremy Coleman, and then Henry Williams. So we have a Heather Shields. Heather Shields. Stephanie Guerrero Signs. Stephanie? Trina Garcia. You're Stephanie?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
My name is Stephanie Guerrero Signs, and I am here to ask you to deny this permit. I was born in Corpus Christi in 1971, and I have lived in the 78415 zip code my entire life, with just the bay minutes away from my home. And I'm here on behalf of my family, my friends, and community that fish the bay for sustenance. As a child, I was taught to fish. I didn't particularly like putting live shrimp on a hook, but it was a skill that my father believed I needed to learn. Fishing on our bay is definitely part of our culture. It's recreational, yes, but for many who live in Nueces County, it is how we have access to food, especially when times get tough. And this desalination plant going up in Hillcrest, it would be the first of its kind. But our city leaders are willing to experiment with this ecosystem in our bay because they have overpromised on the amount of water that we can safely provide industry. And it just doesn't make sense to me because growing up here, we have been told over and over again that we have to do fresh water releases all the time to keep the balance in our ecosystem, in our bay. You know, I'm looking at a news article right now explaining the city is part of an agreed order with the TCEQ. It just doesn't make sense that the TCEQ would want us to maintain this balance in our bay on, you know, and we have to do these fresh water releases, but then on the other hand, it would be willing to add salt to the bay. We just don't get it. We just don't get it. It's not commonsensical. Thank you.
Thank you. Trina Garcia.
My name is Trina Garcia. I didn't plan on speaking, but I became passionate and like young men and women gave me a great example of what the future is, and I could not sit down and not say anything. I'm a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother that we all live in the vicinity of where this plant is they were wanting to place it. And I can't believe, in all honesty, that the city didn't take that into account, but the lives that it was going to affect, the health that it was going to affect. I can't believe that you, in good conscience, there was no other plan in place, no plan B, no environmental surveys, no nothing. Because I know that the people that represent us in the city, or we would think, have the common sense that, you know what, let's look into other options, because there's always other options.
1 minute.
I know that we come here today to be heard. We would hope and pray that the time that we took to come here, that you would consider our comments and our thoughts. You've had educated people, you've had young men and women here talking from their heart. And all we ask is that you really pay attention and that you really put your hearts and minds. Would you like that plant behind your home, behind your mother's home or grandmother's home? Think about it, because the effects are going to be detrimental. And there's no taking it back, because you know what? We've never done it. And so we really need for this to be, and I agree with Barbara Canales. You know what? We need to do more. We need the city to just put this aside for now.
That's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeremy Coleman.
Jeremy Coleman, NAACP for South Texas. Back in 2002, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, in a national convention, reactivated a 1993 health policy, which is quite disturbing. I'm here specifically, and I'm going to read this to you. And I was sitting there with our team just listening to the different backgrounds and different age groups, specifically saying one thing: building this in a historical Black neighborhood. And I have shared this with the city, and I have publicly said this, and I'm going to say it again. If there's 21 other locations that you can build this plant, you need to utilize one of the other 21 locations. Someone spoke about the buffer zone that happened years ago when there was an explosion out there with Citgo, and they're building that in the buffer zone. So I'm listening to the facts that a lot of people have said here, and I'm really hoping that you all are taking note. But let me state this: the principles of civil rights law and the equal protection guarantee all people the right to live in a safe and healthy environment, specifically African Americans who have been the target of neighborhoods that have been neglected, blighted, and unequally overburdened with the adverse environmental conditions. This is from 2002. 2 years ago, they added to the resolution and stated that environmental injustice was the main cause of many of the African American neighborhoods in the United States, which in addition was planning, zoning decisions made by local government that served and discriminated against racially situations, specifically in the African American neighborhoods.
That's your time, sir. Thank you. Up next is Henry Williams. Thank you.
Mr. Williams. I'm going to finish this last sentence, sir.
Please do.
Okay. In 1993, because of the issues that were affecting African American neighborhoods, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People pushed out the issue and the policies and programs that recognize environmental justice and the lack of transparency from major and local government entities to communicate effectively with those neighborhoods being affected. And what I have heard
thank you,
from
sir.
the beginning of the time,
We need
this
to move
started
on.
in
We've got
2017,
other people waiting as
that
well.
This
Henry Williams is
issue
up next.
needed to be resolved by informing those Black
you.
African American communities. That,
Sir, your time is up.
I understand that,
Thank
sir.
you.
But you know, when I came in this room, I asked these people right here before this gentleman came. I said, "Who is the moderator?"
That's me.
Okay. Each one of them politely and respectfully identified you. When I went to shake your hand, I found it a little bit disrespectful.
I was
just wanna
very
let you
busy
know,
before we started
I
the meeting.
understand that, but
Okay.
as the head of the Civil Rights Organization, I think I need a little bit more respect than what I got.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you. Henry Williams.
From the book of Revelation, chapter 14, from verses 6 and 7. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, "Fear God, give glory to him, and worship him that made heaven and earth, the sea, and the foundations of water." My name is Henry Williams. I am a Hillcrest resident. I'm the third generation of fourth generation Corpus Christi. My home is approximately 3 blocks from where the proposed Center Harbor desalination plant would be built. In my youth, I and other boys used to fish and swim. I learned how to swim in Corpus Christi Ship Channel. I'm also the president of the Hillcrest Residents Association, which is a 501c3 organization recognized by the Internal Revenue Service as a public charity, the purpose of which is to repair, rebuild, restore quality of life in the Hillcrest neighborhood. I'm asking that you deny the discharge permit to the city of Corpus Christi, and I'm asking for a contested case hearing. You have heard the damages that will be done, both to the neighborhood and to our waters. Now, that does not need to be contested here. All of you know the damages that will be taking place environmentally, and that is your function. You know, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, you all know what is healthy for an environment and what is not healthy. And you know that if this is approved, it will be destructive to the neighborhood, it will be destructive indeed to our waters. Closing. From the book of Micah, chapter 6, verse 8. He has showed you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. God bless you.
Thank you. Our next group will start with Alexandra Gray, or Alexandra Gray, Rachel Cloudis, Jessica Pavitza, and Lonnie Garcia. Alexandra. Rachel Cloudis. Rachel. Jessica Pavitza.
I actually did a written comment and then went and ate dinner and came back because the live was too good to miss. I will start by saying TCEQ must deny this permit. Thank you. I have looked at the permit and it's extremely technical. You can only read it at the library, which should not happen. It should be online. The city's website about this permit is propaganda for the everyday person who cannot understand dozens of the environmental engineering. But it doesn't take a degree to know that if you continue to add high amounts of salt to a mostly closed body of water, it will build up and lead to increased salinity. Sure, the permit has the predicted mixing zones within the inner harbor, but that is a short-term prediction. We do not know what will happen after months or years of this buildup. TCEQ needs to require an environmental impact statement of the TPDES permit with an impact of the entire Corpus Christi Bay included. I work at the Art Center right by the marina and we saw some dolphins in there yesterday, and I hope that we can continue to see that for decades to come. Please do not gamble with the unknown salinity mixing of this body of water that is crucial to our coastal bend community. Last year, Peter Zanoni and our corrupt elected city officials hosted a water management official from Israel to talk about how to do desalination in the Mediterranean Sea, which, if you don't know, is closer to the size of the Gulf of Mexico than our bay. Before even talking about desalination, the Israeli official emphasized that they reuse 90% of their wastewater before even thinking about desal. And how much does Corpus reuse? Probably not that much. And so everyone on this stage looks white, or at least white passing. And if you approve this permit, you approve the continuation of the oppression and harm to Black and brown people, and I bet your slaveholding ancestors would be proud. So please do better than they would.
Thank you. Ronnie Garcia.
The words that I'm going to say, I hope will shine in your hearts and mind of everyone here, and I know that they've been shining from the people that have been speaking. I would like to make a quotation, and it goes like this. I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, for the people, just powers are derived from the consent of the governed, a democracy and a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon the principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity, for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its constitution, obey its laws, and respect its flag, and defend it against all enemies, and the enemy is desalination. Now, I also believe that the board is the most powerful thing, and the people are the ones that are in charge. We are your bosses. We are the ones here that are the bosses of the city council, of everyone. So therefore, what we would like to recommend with our hearts and our minds is that this should be put in the ballot to be voted. That is what the power is, and we would like for you, who also do believe in loving America as we do, then it's time for you to support us too. That we put it in the ballot box and be able to vote for it, and that is the people have spoken, nobody else. So God bless all of you, and let's do what we as Americans is our duty and our love. Let's go for it. Let's vote for it.
Thank you. All right, so our next group will be our last group. Mariah Boone will be followed by, I believe this is Jomana Al-Abed, and then Thomas. So Mariah Boone.
Hello, my name is Mariah Boone, and I'm come here to oppose the wastewater discharge permit for the Hillcrest Desalination Plant, and to frankly beg you to please give a contested case hearing to the citizens of Hillcrest. I live a short walk from the bay, but I spent 7 years teaching the children of Hillcrest 6th and 7th grade social studies at Driscoll Middle School. And these 11 and 12-year-olds were not healthy the way 11 and 12-year-olds should be. They were far too ill from living in proximity to industries that you have permitted as safe. They have extremely high rates of respiratory disease. The Driscoll Health Plan, run by Driscoll Children's Hospital in our region, did a study that showed the concentrations of respiratory illnesses and showed how correlated they were to proximity to industry. The children also had much higher incidence of birth defects, of cancers, of rare diseases like the one that took my young daughter from us. Also, the local emergency planning committee would come and give us teachers trainings because we were so close to the industries that you have permitted as safe. They would tell us that we would have to lock the doors in an emergency and not open them, no matter how many children were screaming behind them. They would tell us that if we were to evacuate, we needed to take the children who could still walk and walk past the ones who were screaming and burning and couldn't. They would tell us that because we were so close to the industries that you have permitted as safe. The children of Hillcrest
That's time. Thank you.
have been through too much already. Please don't endanger them any further.
Thank you. Joanna Alvarado.
My name is Joanna Alvarado. I have lived here for about 7 months now, and there have been so many powerful comments tonight speaking to the facts that make it obvious that desal is not for the people, it is for the corporations. So I do not feel that there is more for me to add to that point other than if an Israeli desal expert advised against desal in a closed-based system here in Corpus Christi, that should speak volumes, as Israelis are clearly do not care about destroying environment and land. Now, I want to say, from someone who had first learned about desal immediately after moving here, I can see how damaging and unwanted desal is in this community. To proceed with desal after seeing the love and care the community has shown for their people and the health of the earth here is the ultimate slap in the face to the people you claim to serve. I would like to remind you that when you die, you cannot take money with you. What do you plan to do with the money that bought your souls out that is so worth the sacrifice of the people here, of the earth? I have been watching the live stream since I pulled up, and I can tell you,
1 minute.
I spotted those paid pro-desal decoys as soon as they spoke. The people will not be fooled. We do not want desal.
No
Thomas.
Good evening. I originally didn't plan to speak tonight, and I certainly probably wouldn't have volunteered to speak tonight if I knew I was going to be the last person to speak. I want to speak in opposition of this desalination plant, and now that most of the people here know that I'm on their side, I want to say something that might be unpopular. I want to apologize to all of you. Thank you for sitting through all of this. I know it's your job, but I don't feel pity for you. I'm apologizing because we as a city have failed to elect better leaders. Because you wouldn't be here tonight if we had. Except for Syvia. Sylvia's awesome. We've got some other good leaders. But if the only reason we're here tonight, it's still Thursday, right? The only reason we're here tonight is because the vast majority of our citizens don't even bother to vote. So I would encourage everyone here tonight to channel your energy and your anger, your justifiable anger, and your commitment, your dedication to voter registration drives and voter education so we can have better leadership. And the next time you all come down to Corpus Christi, you can enjoy the fish if there are still fish. Yeah! And enjoy the beaches if there are still clean beaches here. So thank you for your time. And again, I want to apologize for not doing a better job of electing better leaders so we wouldn't have meetings like this almost until midnight. And please, I hope you have listened to these people and you take these people seriously. And I just hope that something good comes out of this tonight.
All right, thank you. All right, so let's talk just a little bit about the process moving forward from tonight, and then we'll close the meeting. Tonight's into the comment period. TCQ staff go back to the agency, review all the comments that have been submitted on this application, all the comments that have been provided in writing up until tonight, and the comments that were provided here during the formal comment session. They'll start working on making a final decision on the application, start working on the response to public comment. The response to public comment will be mailed to everyone who's on the mailing list for this application, which includes those providing comments. It'll have a cover letter attached to it establishing the final 30-day period to request a contested case hearing. So even though tonight is the end of the comment period, it's not your last opportunity to request a hearing. But that'll be the next thing you'll see in your mailbox. I'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight. Please be careful going home and have a great rest of your week. Thank you.
Our pay is not for sale! 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 Our pay is not for sale!
Well, I'll just put him back. I mean,